The following program is copyrighted 2005 by Baker Communications Incorporated and may not be copied, distributed, or rebroadcast without express permission from Baker Communications. Baker Communications is proud to welcome you to our program, Consultative Selling Skills. Why do buyers buy? Now there's an interesting question. If you're in sales, just think of what a tremendous boost it would be to your bottom line if you could somehow get inside your customer's head and discover the truth about what he really wanted to buy and why. Since 1979, Baker Communications has worked with leading organizations across the globe, teaching sales managers and account representatives just how easy it is to discover the answer to this big money question. Why do buyers buy? In this program, we're going to discover the answer to this question and go over a few helpful tips to teach you what to do with that information once you learn it. During this program, you will learn the psychology of selling, how to understand why people buy in the first place, an absolutely fabulous way to connect your product or service with that motivation to buy, why you will always get more sales by asking rather than telling, what sports has to do with sales. As a bonus, a set of dynamite closing strategies, because even the top sellers in the country must use an average of 5 different closing strategies on every sale they close. If you only know 2 and you only use 1, what does that say about your chances? These 5 key areas lie at the heart of what is known as consultative selling, a powerful, innovative approach to the sales process. My goal in this program is to give you everything you need to understand what consultative selling is all about, and to get you excited about putting it into practice, because when you do, you will see a significant boost in your bottom line over the next 90 days. But it all starts with my original question: why do buyers buy? The simple answer is this: the only reason someone ever buys anything is because of some perceived need that needs to be met. Now, need is a very subjective notion, and as we will see, it can mean different things to different people. But once you cut through all the hype and rationale, when people buy something, they're usually trying to address one of 3 basic needs: profitability, productivity, or image. Profitability has to do with either saving money or making money. A new super efficient air conditioning unit might save the customer 40% on cooling bills. A more sophisticated software package might allow a physician's bookkeeper to start billing insurance claims for his practice and increase her annual income by $10,000. This is a version of that old adage, you have to spend money to make money. A buyer with this motivation will be asking himself, will this product improve my bottom line? Productivity refers to the practical results or benefits of the product. Is this going to be faster, stronger, safer, smarter, more convenient, or more effective than what we have now? Side curtain airbags and anti-lock brakes make a vehicle safer. Microwave ovens make cooking more efficient. A state-of-the-art computer helps you process information faster. A new home that is smaller but closer to your office downtown is much more convenient than fighting commuter traffic during a 20-mile commute on the freeway. A buyer with this motivation is going to be asking, will this product make my life easier or more productive? Image has to do with the way the buyer perceives himself, or the way he thinks he will be perceived by others. Honestly, is there a practical reason to drive a Ferrari instead of a Taurus, or buy a Gucci handbag instead of one from Target, even where less extravagant items are concerned? Aren't clothes from Sears just as good as the ones you can buy at Abercrombie & Fitch? Apparently, that is a matter of opinion, which is the whole point in the first place. A buyer whose buying need is associated with image is aiming to elicit a specific opinion or reaction from others. He is, in effect, saying to himself and others, how do you like me now? Productivity, profitability, or image These are the basic core reasons that buyers buy. So one of the first things you need to find out as you get to know your customers is which of these 3 reasons is motivating them. Beginning early in your sales call, encourage your customers to talk about their buying motivations by asking a few open-ended questions like, "What is it that you like the most about this product?" Or, "Where do you think a product like this could help you the most?" Then be quiet and listen. Now that you know what to listen for, it is really pretty easy to recognize their motivation for buying, and when you do, you will know how to ask more questions that will guide the conversation down the path that is most important to them. Relating to different buyer types. However, there is another way of understanding the needs and buying motivations of your customers. I'm referring to the different buyer types you commonly find in a business. There are 4 unique buyer types in most companies: financial, technical, user, and executive. Depending on their role with the company, they will probably make buying decisions based on different criteria. Financial buyers are often vested with the final authority to make the buying decision, but they are primarily interested in cost savings. Purchasing agents and those with final budget authority fit this category. They'll be asking questions like, "What kind of return will I get on this investment? What's the lowest price I can pay and have guaranteed performance?" Don't focus so much on quality issues with them. They are motivated by the bottom line because they are rewarded for cutting costs. So tell them, "This system will save you 24% on shipping costs during the next quarter alone." On the other hand, technical buyers want lots of specs, a lot of data, and will take the time to study and compare everything you give him, and more. You might hear them ask questions like, "Is this the best technology available? Is it the most reliable? Does it meet our requirements?" Often technical buyers serve as consultants to the financial buyer. They're primarily concerned with quality issues. They want the best performance and the highest quality. Don't bother talking dollars. That's not where their focus is. To this type of buyer, you have to say something like, "The towing capacity of this truck is rated best in class by Truck World magazine, and the most recent Consumer Reports survey indicates that it has received the fewest owner complaints from any truck in its class based on all vehicles in service at least a year." Then there are user buyers. Basically, these customers just want to make sure the product will work the way it's supposed to, the way they need it to. These people are the ones who must actually interact with the product every day. They probably can't get their job done if it doesn't work correctly. They will ask questions like, "What is the difference between the way your product works and the one I'm using now? What kind of support does your company provide? Do the people who answer the helpline know how to support all aspects of the system?" User buyers need lots of assurance regarding the dependability of your product and your company. They need to hear you say things like, "Our helpline is answered by highly skilled, well-trained tech support staff who can either answer your question immediately or get back to you with an answer within 15 minutes. We guarantee you will never wait more than 15 minutes to resolve an operating question or problem." Finally, there are executive buyers. As you might imagine, these buyers can definitely be decision makers who will buy today if they really like what they hear. But first, they will want to know how your product is going to help them achieve the strategic goals of their organizations and deliver a boost to profits and long-term growth. In short order, they will ask questions like, "How much money will we make on this? Tell me how much we can grow our market share. How long will it take to come online and start producing?" Executive buyers are big picture people. They don't care about details and technical specs. Just give them the bottom line. This system will deliver 30% cost savings by the end of the year over what you're using now. Remember, consultative sales is all about knowing what the customer values. Don't start by trying to sell him what you have. Respect them enough to take the time to discover what they want or need, and then see if you can offer them a solution or a benefit that they will value and appreciate. And that brings us to that absolutely fabulous way to connect your product or service with their motivation to buy. The FAB in fabulous stands for feature, advantage, and benefit. The three unique characteristics that make up the value of your product or service. The problem is that most sales reps focus all their time and energy on learning and promoting features and advantages, and hardly any time at all becoming aware of all the potential benefits. However, contrary to popular belief, most customers buy benefits, not features or advantages. Let me explain. A feature is a particular design or performance enhancement. Features relate to what the product does and especially delineates those characteristics that make it special. For instance, an automobile may have features like a 3.2-liter V6 engine, anti-lock brakes, and side curtain airbags. Since these things don't come standard on all cars, they become features of a particular model. This is step one in explaining your product to a customer. Features are very important, but features alone won't sell a product. Salespeople too often get bogged down in explaining features and sometimes lose customers in the process, for the simple reason that a customer also needs to understand the advantage that a feature provides. An advantage defines what the feature accomplishes and why that is a good thing. For instance, a 3.2-liter V6 engine will generate stronger acceleration if you need to merge into highway traffic. However, it might not be attractive to someone who wants the absolute highest gas mileage, or who only toodles around the city streets in light commuter traffic. So not every feature and advantage will appeal to every customer, no matter how cool that feature may seem to be to the sales rep. The advantage has to offer a benefit that the customer identifies as valuable to him. At this point, you as a sales rep must be careful. Just because a benefit seems valuable to you is no guarantee that the customer will see it the same way. A huge part of sales success revolves around learning to listen to the customer long enough and carefully enough to understand what he needs and values. Then, and only then, can you connect your product's fabs with those needs in a way that might interest your customer. Simply put, a benefit states how the advantages of a feature relate to the customer's concerns and expectations. Remember, customers are generally motivated to buy something for one of three main reasons. Image, the way the product makes him look or feel about himself. Productivity, the performance aspects or function of the item. Profitability, the return on investment or money-saving potential of the item. Let's say you're a car salesman, and you're working with a customer who had told you he had recently skidded on slick streets while driving a carload of kids to a birthday party. At this point, you would be wise to politely ask if safety was an important concern in his new car purchase. The chances are very good that he'll say yes. This gives you the opportunity to point out to him that among the features of the car under consideration include anti-lock brakes and side curtain airbags, which offer the advantages of being very effective at eliminating skids, while also providing better protection for passengers in the event of a collision. Now, this advantage becomes a valuable benefit to him because he sees that his family is going to be much safer whenever they're traveling in the new automobile. Until you know what benefit is important to your customer, and until he clearly sees that your product offers him that benefit, you don't usually have a chance to make a sale. He may agree that you have wonderful features and advantages, but those things have to meet his needs and fit his motivation for buying. Your challenge is to ask good questions, listen to his needs, understand his motivation, and then, and only then, recommend solutions that offer real value to him because they solve his problem or meet his need. Now, do you see why you always close more deals by asking instead of telling? Too many inexperienced and ineffective sales reps have a bad habit of simply serving as a walking brochure. They work really hard to learn all the features and advantages of their products, and they spend all their time telling the customer how great these features and advantages are. But until you know what benefits the customer is looking for, you have no idea whether he has a need for what you are selling. How can you find out? Learn to ask a lot of great questions. Then shut up and pay attention. Let's be clear here. Your most important job as a sales rep isn't pushing your product. It is gaining a thorough understanding of the needs and goals of your customer so that you can discover what he wants to buy. Once you know what it is that he needs, your chances of offering him something that he wants goes way up. The longer you continue asking and listening, the greater the chance of you discovering his true needs and wants, those things that form his motivation for buying. The idea of asking questions and discovering needs is what sets consultative selling apart from any other sales method. In consultative sales, we use two distinct types of questions. They have different functions and are used at various times to accomplish different purposes. The first type of question is referred to as an open-ended question. Because of its open nature, the structure of this question invites the customer to speak freely and share his feelings, insights, or opinions on a variety of subjects without limiting him in any way. Open-ended questions usually start with words like who, where, what, when, how, why, or maybe simply, tell me about, or could you explain? Use open-ended questions when you want to find out more about the customer's needs, problems, concerns, or experiences. Asking open-ended questions is a very important tool to be used early in the conversation when the customer is more likely to express opinions and talk freely. A sales rep who is skilled and practiced at asking open questions can obtain a great deal of very important information. Here are some examples of open questions. What happened when you switched to the new operating system? Where are you experiencing the most significant problems in your shipping process? Why do you believe rethinking your marketing plan is important to do right now? Would you mind telling me what it is that is causing you the most frustration right now? How could I or my company help you the most today? One other important thing that open-ended questions accomplish is the building of trust by establishing rapport between you and the customer. Most people like to talk about themselves and their situation. Open-ended questions give them permission to do just that. All you have to do is sit quietly and pay attention. Don't interrupt, distract, or correct. Just be quiet and soak it all in. While you're patiently gathering insights that will guide you during the next leg of conversation, the customer is cheerfully chattering on, convinced that you're the most intelligent, sympathetic person he's ever met. Maybe you are all that, but to the degree that you know when to ask open-ended questions and then to shut up and listen, you are also on your way to being a very successful sales rep. Open-ended questions can also be used at any point during the conversation when the customer expresses doubt, resistance, or apathy. For example, customer says, I just don't think your shipping cartons are strong enough to protect our components. You say, can you tell me a little more about what concerns you? What qualities you're looking for in a shipping container? Or, how do you usually go about determining the strength of your shipping materials? Once you receive his answer, you can use this information to construct a solution that involves your product. Open-ended questions can uncover needs, gather information, clarify, focus attention, stimulate reflective thinking, obtain feedback, determine resistance, determine readiness, direct sale toward closing. As you're carefully listening to the customer's answer to the question you have asked, you should also be asking yourself a few questions. Why is this information important to me? What is he telling me about his needs and wants? How am I going to tie this information back into a solution that can really help him? You must apply the information you're receiving from the customer directly to some aspect of the sales process in a way that will help you find a way to help him. Pay attention and connect the dots. The second type of question is the closed question, so called because it tends to close off conversation by eliciting a short, clear, direct answer, sometimes as simple as yes or no. Some examples of closed questions are, do you have any problems with the way we bill? Who is the purchasing agent for this department? When do you prefer to receive deliveries? Was the driver on time? One important note about asking questions: be sure to address the customer by name whenever possible and smile. It really does help to build rapport. Closed questions are useful when you need to receive quick, basic facts from the customer about some aspect of his situation. They can also help get the conversation moving when the customer appears reluctant to respond to open questions, or when he replies with only vague, confused answers. For instance, if your open-ended questions about the customer's general problems or product needs don't provide any insights that you can use to build bridges back to your products, you might try asking closed questions to prime the pump. Is your present supplier giving you the technical support you need to keep things running smoothly at all times? Is on-time delivery ever a problem for you? Is the material you're using now meeting all your processing needs? Okay, hopefully your closed question received an answer. This then opens the door for asking another round of open-ended questions, such as, "Oh, I see. Well, can you explain a little more about where your experience with tech support has not been adequate, so I can understand what would help you the most?" Now you're off to the races, or at least moving in the right direction. One of the biggest problems in communication is assuming that you know what someone meant just because you were sitting right there listening to them say it. Sad to say that this is very often not the case. It's not all too uncommon for certain words, phrases, and even vocal tones to signify one thing to me but mean something different to you. Communication has not really taken place until both the speaker and the listener have a shared understanding of the meaning of the message. In order to achieve that goal, once you've received good answers to your questions, you must confirm what you think you heard to make sure it's what the customer meant. Suppose a customer tells you he's frustrated right now because most of his counter help seems to consistently have problems when it comes to matching stock on the shelf against inventory in the warehouse. They keep getting incorrect data from the computer. He doesn't know if it's a software glitch or if it is human error, up front or in the back. All he knows is that he has had several unhappy customers lately who come to pick up merchandise they reserved by phone, and when they arrive, the product wasn't available. At that point, you respond by saying, "It sounds to me like you need either a more dependable inventory tracking software program or better training protocol for your staff, maybe even both." Is that right? This last question, "Is that right?" is the key to everything that happens next. It invites the customer to keep talking and either confirm or correct your assumption. In this case, what he tells you is that he hopes it is just a training issue, because they have spent a lot of money on this new system. And then he adds that what would probably help him the most is someone who could come in here and work with them on both issues, provide tech support to fine-tune the system, and also upgrade the training program for all their people up front and in the warehouse too. By using "Is that right?" to confirm what you think you heard, you actually got better information. Now you know that the customer really doesn't want a new system. He wants someone who can come in and make the old system work better and also give his people better training. The customer needs his system to work. What he wants is for someone to handle both the tech side and the human side of that equation. When you take the time to listen carefully and then confirm what you're hearing from the customer, you're sending a clear message to him that you care about his needs and you consider them to be important. This is the way trust is built. As you act on his request, it will give him confidence to share more with you in the future about his needs and wants. However, sometimes the customer's answer is not always completely clear. Maybe the customer doesn't really have a good handle on the problem himself. Or maybe he's using technical language that you're not familiar with. Maybe the customer simply didn't provide enough information for the sales rep to understand what his need is. At any rate, at times like this, don't try to guess, and don't assume you can just fill in the blanks later. Now is the time to ask for clarification. Maybe your customer tells you that a certain product isn't working like he hoped it would. In that case, you would need to clarify by saying something like, "I'm very sorry to hear that. Could you describe for me the kinds of problems you have been experiencing?" Here are examples of the types of clarifying questions you might use. Tell me more about it. "I don't think I fully understand what you mean. Could you give me a little more information?" "And why is that a concern for you right now?" Remarks like these give the customer the opportunity to provide you with the rest of the information you need in order to really understand the customer's need and what he wants to happen next. Always remember to confirm what you have clarified. Don't ever assume you understand what the customer has just told you until he confirms that you have it right. Just remember, clarify whenever you don't have enough information to understand what the customer needs and wants. Clarify by asking for additional information or explanation regarding what has been said and why. Confirm before making a decision or acting on any information, ideas, opinions, or suggestions from your customer. Confirm by stating to the customer your understanding of what he wants and why he needs it, and ask him if your understanding is correct. You and I and everyone else who has ever purchased anything will all go through basically the same psychological, emotional buying process before we do. The art and science of selling involves being able to read your customer's attitude and recognize where he is in the buying process so that you can match him up to a corresponding step in your selling process. There are 6 stages to each. Let's begin with a quick look at the buying process. Stage 1 of the customer buying process is called numbness. At this stage, the customer is apathetic, not interested, and is probably a little suspicious of the sales rep and his motives. Stage 2 is referred to as pain. The customer is beginning to see a need and may begin to ask questions like, "What can be done about this?" or "How much is this going to cost?" At stage 3, the customer's attitude is changing and is definitely a little softer. He is now aware of solutions that will meet his need, and he is now concerned about which solution will work best and what he can realistically afford. By stage 4, the customer is ready to act. However, he still may be struggling with buyer's remorse, which means he may still have questions about price, risk, and value. When the buyer reaches stage 5, he is primed to make a commitment. His anxiety is beginning to subside, and though he may still be asking questions, he is ready to close. Stage 6 is basically the post-sale stage. He is now selling inside his organization or circle of friends because he wants others to see the value of his decision. Now it is here that we find out what sports has to do with selling. Sports is an acronym that defines 6 selling steps you must match with the 6 buying steps we've just outlined. By reading the clues in your customer's behavior, attitudes, and questions, you'll be able to form a pretty good idea of where he is in his buying process. Your job will then be to apply the principles of the selling step that correspond with the behavior your buyer is exhibiting in order to get the selling process moving in the right direction. Here is a brief summary of the sports model selling steps. Step 1. Setting direction corresponding with buying stage 1, numbness. This is the introductory phase of the sales call, where you must build rapport and begin looking for ways to gain trust. There is usually some amount of casual chit-chat during the stage. At the appropriate time, you must bridge from casual conversation to the true purpose of the call. Some clients will give you an actual request for purpose, like, "What can I do for you today?" If that happens, fine. But even if that doesn't happen, you can make the transition through the use of what is known as an introductory benefit statement. An introductory benefit statement has 4 components: a reminder of past relationship or discussions. If this is a new customer, you can substitute a reference to a conversation with another client. A feature that introduces your product or service. The advantage, as defined by documented information or recommendations. The benefit, in terms of value to the customer, his business, or his customers, that the above referenced feature advantage could provide. The key thing to remember here is that this is an introductory statement. It is not a presentation. You're not in any hurry to go into depth or details at this point. You're simply priming the pump. These 4 components should be packed neatly into one concise, clear paragraph, like this. I recall, here's the reminder, that the last time I was here you mentioned a desire to redesign your marketing strategy to drive more business toward your soft goods line. I wanted to talk to you today about our new marketing analysis service, the feature, that can help you evaluate where you are and suggest solutions to get you where you want to be, which is the advantage. So you can boost sales of your soft goods and capture a bigger slice of market share. And there is the benefit. The rest of this setting direction revolves around asking open-ended and closed questions to gain information about the customer's situation, his needs, and her wants. These questions can help the customer become more in touch with the depth of his need, while also continuing to build trust. These questions should be simple in nature, intended only to help you understand what is happening in the customer's situation right now. Here are a couple examples. What has your marketing strategy been focusing on during the past year? What media are you using to get your message out? Step 2. Problem clarification. This step corresponds with Stage 2 buyer pain. Gradually, the setting direction phase begins to shift into the problem clarification stage. As the customer provides answers to the general questions you raise about his situation, it will eventually become appropriate for you to ask the clarifying and confirming questions we discussed earlier. Make sure that you spend a lot of time listening and taking notes. Otherwise, you're likely to jump in too fast before you really understand the situation, and the customer will think you're being pushy instead of trying to understand his need. These questions are all diagnostic in nature and serve the same function as the question the doctor asks you in the examining room when he asks, "Does it hurt when I do this?" You're just trying to understand where she is hurting and why. The problem clarification phase may last a while, but that's okay. Take all the time you need to understand and confirm his situation in a way that cements the customer's confidence in your motives, your character, and your expertise. Step 3. Offering options. This step corresponds with Stage 3, the buyer is beginning to change. When you find that final confirmation from the customer that you have an accurate understanding of his needs and wants, then and only then will it be time to slowly shift the conversation in your direction and start to offer options. You begin with one brief paragraph that goes something like this. Okay then, now I can see your situation more clearly. I've been turning this over in my mind while you've been talking, and I'm wondering, what if, or sometimes suppose you could statements are the bridge from problem clarification to offering options. This approach helps you to suggest a possible solution, one you might formally propose later. But at this point, it's still too early to sell anything you have to offer. You just want to get the customer thinking about the possibility that a certain type of solution to the problem might exist, so that she could visualize the value it might provide him. It might sound like this. What if you could have the benefit of an experienced marketing team that would be willing to spend a couple of days with your senior staff, break down your needs and goals, and come back to you the next week with a comprehensive plan that you could implement with your present staff? Again, this step may last for a while. Your question may stimulate a response requiring you to ask more confirming questions. Remember, this phase exists to let the customer explore the possibilities. Just keep listening and continue to ask helpful questions. Go with the flow until you feel like she's reached a comfortable level with this still theoretical solution. At that point, it will be time to confirm your customer's support for and interest in a specific solution. She has said it sounds good. Now she needs to say she's ready to act. You can help him get there by asking a question that begins like this. From what I hear you saying, if you had the ability to, here you summarize the fabs of the solution you've been discussing. That would give the answer you're looking for. Step 4. Recommending solutions. This step corresponds with stage 4 as the buyer is ready to act. Suddenly, you're at the selling stage. Almost. Before you pull the trigger, you need to ask one more confirming question just to make sure you're both on the same page. Here it is. Is there anything else you're looking for in terms of a solution? Assuming that she doesn't raise other needs or concerns right here, the time is finally right to present your solution. Then, based on our discussion, this is what I recommend. Your recommendation should seamlessly connect the feature, advantage, and benefit characteristics of your product with the needs and wants of the customer she has just specified to you in the previous step. A recommendation statement with benefits usually follows this generic form. I would like to recommend this product. It has these features that will meet your need so that you can achieve your goal. Just fill in the generic spots with the points you have agreed upon. There you are. In a perfect world, you would fill out the order and go home at this point. In the real world, reaching this point often uncovers one last round of concerns or objections that now must be addressed. This can sometimes be a complex, vexing process. Just don't be surprised to find out even this far along that you and your customer are still not quite on the same page. Don't panic about it either. It's just part of the buying process. That's why we have Step 5. Step 5. Testing for agreement is the step that corresponds with Buyer Stage 5, Commitment. Now we're down to the home stretch. In standard sales terminology, this phrase is often referred to as the closing. But it's so much more complex than that. Remember at the beginning of the program, I told you that the nation's top sellers use an average of 5 different closing strategies to complete just one sale? If you only know 2 strategies and you're only really comfortable with one, what does that say about your chances of closing a high percentage of big money sales presentations? You may be able to take simple orders, but you will never be able to sell. The first thing you need to remember about closing is that no matter how well things went during the previous selling steps, a customer is still very likely to hesitate and say no when you first ask for a commitment. The problem is almost always price, but he will begin to offer up lots of objections to make it seem like something else. Don't be surprised or dismayed. This is completely normal and to be expected. People always hesitate when they're about to be parted from their money, even when they believe that making this purchase is the right thing to do. There is a kind of a weird separation anxiety taking place here between them and their money. Your job is to use as many tools as you can find to gently lead your buyer through this sensitive process. At this point, patience and trust are your biggest allies. You have worked very hard to build trust with your customer. Don't blow it now by suddenly acting nervous, antsy, or pushy. Wait patiently and probe carefully, and give him time to get comfortable with his decision. Here is another very important tip to address at the beginning of Selling Step 5 if it hasn't come up yet. Before you go any further, you must ask, is there anyone else who needs to be involved in the decision-making process? You don't want to waste all your closing ammunition on someone who can't give you a decision today. That said, you can then begin the test for agreement. or the closing process by submitting to your customer a question that contains a specific action request. We will discuss some different types of questions in a minute, but first, pay close attention because I'm about to give you the most important piece of advice you will ever receive regarding the art of closing. Here it is. After you make your action request or ask your closing question, don't say another word. The first person to speak loses. If you say anything, your customer is instantly released from his obligation to answer your question and follow through on his implied commitment to buy that has been developing during the sales call. A lot of sales reps are uncomfortable with silence, fearing it might indicate a problem that needs to be addressed. The only problem is that the customer must now face his anxiety and conquer it. You've already given him all the information he needs. If you jump in now to help him out with another question or more information, you've given him an escape route to punt the ball back to you, and you may never get him back. So just keep waiting quietly. Even if your heart is racing and sweat is pouring down your back, fight the urge to step in and make him comfortable. He needs to be uncomfortable for a while. He will eventually break the silence, either by saying yes or expressing reluctance or asking a question. Any response from the customer that isn't yes is actually a new opportunity to clarify and move the process back to the close again. Armed with that important piece of insight, let's turn your attention to a set of powerful closing strategies that can help you test for agreement and seal the deal. It's important to keep in mind that many closing strategies and questions actually start out as ways to test the waters. The first 4 steps in the sports model selling process serve the purpose of qualifying your customer and building the rapport and trust necessary for getting both of you through the closing process. However, there is no perfect time to close. The so-called right moment to close is simply that moment when you begin to sense that your customer is ready. One of the best ways to pinpoint that moment is to ask an appropriate test question in response to signals or feedback your customer may give to you. Here are some good examples. The "your wish is my command" close. Your customer asks you a product-related question like, "Does this come in emerald green?" Your response must be, "Would you like it in emerald green?" Then wait quietly. If they say any version of yes, then they are probably ready to close. The alternative choice close. As you sense agreement building, go ahead and ask them a question based on a choice, such as, "Would you prefer to take delivery on the 1st or the 15th? Don't forget to wait quietly. It doesn't make any difference which they choose. If they choose either one, they're probably ready to close. The purchase order close. Anytime you're working with a large company or organization, the chances are that the deal can't go forward without a purchase order. As you sense agreement building, simply ask, "Will you need a purchase order number for this order?" If the answer is yes, ask if you can have the number so you can make a note of it on the order form. If you get cooperation here, the customer is ready to close. The sharp angle close. Suppose your customer says something like this, "I really need to have this no later than Monday." That is a signal that he is almost in the fold. Simply ask, "If I can guarantee in writing that you will have delivery by Monday, do we have a deal?" And wait. Anytime your customer mentions a condition, offer to meet it and wait. The trial close. Sometimes everything just goes perfectly. All questions are asked, all answers are confirmed, all solutions are clearly acceptable. The customer appears completely relaxed, even smiling. So if you're pretty sure he's ready to accept your offer and there is nothing left to discuss, it is absolutely time to ask, "Now that you have heard what we have to offer, are you ready to set up the contract?" Then smile and wait. Of course, there are plenty of times when everything doesn't go smoothly. When you ask any of these trial questions, you often encounter reluctance or objections. Here are some of the typical roadblocks you might face and some ways around them. The "I need time to think about it" close. Customers use this when they don't want to spend the money, but they don't want to say so. They may even promise to carefully study all the information you've given them and decide later, but they won't. So don't leave it like this. First, confirm in a nice way that they really intend to think about it. Of course they will say yes. Then explain to them that you would like to know what their major concerns are. Is it the quality of the product, the integrity of the company, the terms? They will say, "Of course not," to each one of them. Cover all the ground you can think of and then say, "Last of all, is it the price?" With no other place to hide, they will probably admit that, yes, it seemed like more than they were ready to pay. Great. Now you can move on to the next close. The fine-tuning close. Now that you know that price is the sticking point, go to work on the perception that the price is too much. The best way to do this is to compare their situation now with the advantages and benefits of your offer. Divide the price by the number of useful days they can expect to receive from the product and bring it down to a price per day. Most price objections evaporate when you ask, "Wouldn't you agree that getting the great benefits of this product is worth $1.12 per day?" And wait. The "it's just too much" close. Occasionally, a customer will come right out and say he has problems with the price. In this case, draw on a strategy similar to the "think about it" close we've already mentioned. Begin asking if the price is really the only thing standing in the way. Even if he says initially yes, be persistent. Make sure that price is the only problem. Ask several times. One of two things will happen. First of all, he may eventually raise another concern, such as delivery terms, etc. This opens the door for you to bring in the sharp angle close we've already discussed to help you get unstuck. However, if he holds firm on price, feel free to move in on the fine-tuning close. After all, he's already told you he wants to buy, just not at your price. All you have to do is help him see that the price isn't really a problem. Refocus on the needs that will be met, and you will do fine. After all objections and reluctance have been resolved, you are ready for what is known as the summary close. This is the real closing. You begin by covering all the bases one more time and stipulate what will happen next, like this. Okay, let's just recap. You have told me, restate his needs and wants. We have agreed that. Here, restate your company's fabs for your product service as they address his needs and wants. I will have my office draw up the contract and fax a copy to you. Feel free to go over it with anyone that needs to be in the loop on this. I would like to set up a meeting on Tuesday at 10 a.m. to go over the agreement one more time with you and your group before we sign it and start shipping. Is there anything else I can help you with today? Congratulations. That brings up step 6, synthesis and sharing, corresponding with stage 6 of the buying process. During this final step, you will go back to your office and debrief your manager, while your customer is updating his people about how things turned out. It's important for you to analyze every aspect of the way the sale went. What worked? What didn't? What important data did you learn about competitors, markets, new opportunities, etc.? It is important to break the sale down into all of its components and harvest all the valuable information you can, so that it can be disseminated to all appropriate parties within your company. Yes, it is good that you made a sale, but the information about how you made the sale may help your company make a lot more sales in the future. Always be looking ahead. If you stop too long to enjoy the view, somebody will start gaining on you. And that's why buyers buy. They buy to satisfy a particular need. They buy in response to a certain level of pain as they go through a buying process. And most importantly, they buy because someone took the time to understand their need, respond to their pain, and help them review options and find the solution that would be in their very best interests. If you'll take the time to 1. Understand the psychology of selling, 2. Connect your fabs to your customers' real needs, 3. Get in the habit of asking rather than telling, 4. Follow the sports model to address the buying process, and 5. Learn as many closing strategies as you can. You will begin to tap into the power of consultative sales, and you should see an almost immediate increase in your bottom line. Our clients routinely experience a 30% increase in sales within 90 days of beginning to apply these principles. If it can happen for them, it can happen for you. In the final analysis, there is one very important reason that buyers buy. It is you. Keep listening to this program and applying the skills that we teach clients all over the globe. Before you know it, you'll see a direct effect on your sales numbers. The entire team at Baker Communications would like to thank you for choosing this audio program. We hope you enjoyed it and that it will encourage you as you pursue your goal of sales success. If you would like more information regarding the highly effective Baker training products in such areas as sales, customer service, management, presentations, time management, negotiations, or any of our customized business consulting services, please visit our website at www.bakercommunications.com. Again, thanks for listening and have a great day.